part of Double P Media, doublepmedia.com.
Should Numenorian kings be giving away state secrets to complete strangers?
How does a paper scroll stay readable after soaking in water for hours?
Will Malva actually be a good Harfoot leader?
We'll explore these questions and more on today's
Bustin Blockbusters.
Welcome to Bustin Blockbusters. Today we're talking about Season 1, Episode 8, entitled Alloyed. Appropriately so. There's a lot of alloys in those rings, evidently. But it was written by Jennifer Hutchinson. We try that again. Written by Jennifer Hutchinson and J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay. And it was directed by the returning Wayne Che Yip. Yay, extraordinary job with this time around. I am once again joined by Priscila, who already has her YouTube review of this episode out. Please go check it out. Be sure to subscribe to her channel. Don't worry if you don't understand the language she's speaking in. She does it in Portuguese. She has mostly Brazilian followers. However, those auto-translate things on those closed captions work really well. And I encourage you to check out the wonderful things that Priscila has to say. Hi, Priscila. How you feeling after this finale?
Well, it was very fun. I had a great time watching the finale. I think it answered the questions I knew it would answer, and the questions I knew it would have answered, they have answered. So it was kind of expected. Not much surprise, many surprises for me at least. But a series doesn't have to be surprising to be a good one. And I think overall, they did a good job establishing the world, no, in this first season. And I hope they correct some things for the second season. But they really delivered a good finale, I feel.
Scylla knows more than you do.
I found it emotionally compelling. Naturally, we should get into our ratings. But before we do that, because, we had a huge disagreement last week about who Hal-RON was.
Okay.
You were ready to throw me across the room, if I recall, because I just insisted that it was StrangeRON and not Hal-RON. And, I like to say for at least 50% of the episode, I was right.
Yes.
And then in the finality of it all, you were correct overall. There's no victory laps to be made here one way or the other. We were both half wrong. We were both half wrong.
I think
that's the way it is. We were both half wrong. That's the way it is, Priscila. We were both half wrong.
Okay.
You don't have a bone of conflict within you, do you? You're just too nice a person. You gave up on that way too easily. Tell me.
We were both half right. Let's just say that. Let's keep positive. Yeah.
Let's just say that together we made a complete right. No, wait a minute. We can't do that because in the end,
I was right in
right.
everything. No, I was right in everything, and you were right in half of it.
Okay. There you go.
So that makes 75%. I don't know how much that
makes 150%. We did better than the average, folks. Tell me your 100% rating for this particular episode.
Well, I'm giving a 9.5 double S.
Double S?
Yeah, Salacious Sauron. I was so surprised. Not that I was right. This I knew all along. But that Sauron, he really never lied to Galadriel, which I agree with him. No, she created this whole idea in her own head, no, because she was too eager to fight evil that she couldn't see the red flags waving at her. But in the end, he went in a very scandalous route, of tempting Galadriel first by using the likeness of her dead brother, inside her head, if I'm not mistaken. No? I think it was kind of an illusion stuff. And this is already like a big no. Without consent, one should not enter other people's heads. And then he went even further, like the salacious route, by tempting Galadriel to get together with him as his queen. No? Even though Galadriel is married, and this is a big no for Tolkien, in the Tolkien legendary, it's a big no. We don't get together with married people, and married people are married forever. Even if somebody dies, they are married, except for one elf. So I was very surprised to see that he is very open-minded about these things. But I also, to be honest, I also think there is no romantic things, like feelings for Galadriel. He just wanted her, for power's sake. So
yes,
that's that.
Yeah, it was just another way to take a dig at all of the other at the elves, I think, more or less, saying, "See, I got her on my side."
Yeah.
I agree. I think I'm going to go 9.4, and I'm going to do it double T's.
Double T's?
Yeah, tricky trios like Galadriel, El-ron, and Celebrimbor, making 3 rings, when Hal-RON thought that they were only going to make 2 for balance reasons.
Yes.
Excellent. That the way they explained that 1 is all controlling and 2 can be divided, but 3 is the perfect number. There's a
for
song
them
in there somewhere for them. I was, in fact, correct that the evil trio would declare the stranger as Sauron, forever known now as StrangeRON, or Strizzard at the end of the episode.
Yes.
But I can only say I was correct for half the episode in the thing, just as we discussed. Now, one thing that I really liked about this, and I think you brought it up already too, is that the showrunners did, in fact, do what they said they would do in the interview. That is, more or less contain this story within 1 season. Now they kind of get a reset where they can try these other things or try things better, as you suggested. One thing that I took away points for was we didn't get any of the dwarf issues resolved. There's still a Balrog down there. Durin is still disinherited from all we can tell. Not a single dwarf showed up in this episode, which is always a minus because I love dwarfs, just like you do. Another point, or half a point, came off because of the idea that they didn't really need to do the big red herring with the stranger, with StrangeRON, and make me believe that I was right for 5-10 minutes before Halbrand started recovering miraculously, and I started going, now wait a minute. So that was one of those things that I was just kind of like, as time went on, I was like, oh, did they really have to do that? And the fact that once he grabs that stick, and those evil people have been talking to him for a while, he knows how to speak the language of the Harfoots better than most of the Harfoots do. Eloquent. But that was kind of a cool thing too, because my favorite quote from this particular episode was, "Betimes our paths are laid before us by powers greater than our own. In those moments, it's our task to make our feet go where our hearts wish not to tread, no matter the perils awaiting us on the way." And the fact that he might be a wizard, that sounded very kind of Ian McKellen Gandalf-y to me from the Peter Jackson films. I love that. It was a fantastic. And I suppose the question that I want to pose to you before we get into breaking this episode down is, would this whole adventure thing that these two are going to probably go on to ruin, and the fact that, Nori was the one who helped him in the first place and believed in him in the first place, is this why Gandalf, if it is Gandalf, would possibly, turn to hobbits like Bilbo or whatever centuries later for help, in the battle against Sauron?
Okay, there are like two options here you can pick, and like I think we spoke about it, and I was saying that I thought they would go to this route of not saying out loud his name, of not revealing his identity, but just hinting at it. So one option they can go is actually, this is the origin story of Gandalf. This is why he likes hobbits, and this is also the origin story of how the hobbits came to be established where they were, and why they are so averse to adventures, and why they are the way they are when we see them in the third age with Bilbo and Frodo, why Bilbo and Frodo are so different than the other hobbits. No? So this can be this origin story. The other option is that they are combining, and they are not going to say out loud until the end of the series who this guy is really, because they are giving him kind of like the location where the blue wizards would have been in the second age. So the blue wizards were sent in the second age by the Valar with Glorfindel by boat, not by meteor, to help the peoples of the East who were aligned in the first era with Morgoth, to help destabilize that area and turn a little bit this area to the light. No? And Tolkien, at first he said that they were not successful, that they opened up shop there and they became leaders of cults there. And towards the end, he said that they were actually successful in their mission, but he never explained very well. Gandalf also, there is like a window of time that he could have been to Middle Earth in the second age. It's just like a sentence in a throwaway in the Unfinished Tales, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. When he is being tasked to go to Middle Earth in the third age, he says he doesn't want to go, one, because he's afraid of Sauron, because Sauron is much more stronger than he is. Second, he says, I just came from a trip. I don't want to go travel again. Basically, that's what he said. So maybe the showrunners are taking this throwaway line and say, okay, this is the trip that Gandalf said. No? Okay. So it can be both ways. He can be like a combined Blue Wizards Gandalf character, or he can be like the origin of why Gandalf likes hobbits so much. But I think we can only be sure second season if we have the Blue Wizards there, or maybe they are going to keep us guessing for a little longer, because he seemed to have recovered much of his memories and his ability to speak, but he still doesn't know his name. He doesn't say it. So
yeah, well, he told Nori, what was it? Fragments and images were coming back to him. So I don't define fragments as knowing a whole lot more about yourself than you did before, but that's just me.
He knows more. No,
he definitely knows how to talk better.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that a lot of the things that the evil trio was telling him, evoked some memories within him as well. So he's probably got a lot more in his head now than he's letting on. But as we talk about these things, we want to know if our listeners think, is this Gandalf? Is it the Blue Wizards? Who do you think this character is going to be? I'd say he needs a change of clothes if he's going to become a combination of the Blue Wizards, because that gray there just makes me think of Gandalf the Grey right off the bat. But as long as he doesn't turn out to be a young Saruman, then I'm cool. But we want to know what you think. So please tweet to @BustBlockbuster on Twitter. That's BustBlockbuster on Twitter. You can send emails to mattsaudioblog@gmail.com, mattsaudioblog@gmail.com. You can leave comments on the website, which is mattsaudioblog.com, mattsaudioblog.com. You can also leave comments on the Double P YouTube, which is where our videos appear. Just type in youtube.com/C/the word double, the letter P, the word media for that. You can also contact them by tweeting to @the word double, the letters PHQ. That stands for podcast headquarters. Join their Facebook page, facebook.com/the word double, the letters PHQ. You can check out their website as well, which is back to the media name, doublepmedia.com. The word double, the letter P, the word media.com. No musical analysis this time, folks. I know that some of you do not have a single inkling of caring about my opinions on a television show from a story standpoint. But I promise you, I'm going to gather all of the individual soundtracks that Bear released, a whole bunch of them he did. And I'm going to go through them and I'm going to rewatch the show. And here, as soon as House of the Dragon is over, which is another show that I'm covering on another podcast, then I promise I will put out a full musical analysis for the season, which will include some wonderful music from this particular episode, including really neat versions of the Stranger theme, a little bit of Sauron theme, some wonderful versions of the Harfoot theme as well. Lots to cover. So I didn't want to just try and cram it into a little segment in this particular podcast because we do have a lot of story to talk about. And I only have a limited amount of opportunity to talk to Priscilla about this. So I want to take full advantage of that. Priscilla,
Matt, did you like the Fiona Apple song in the end?
The ending song?
Yeah.
I'm kind of iffy on it.
Okay.
Not sure how I feel about this. And maybe it was just because of the way the melody made me feel so uncomfortable. I'm sure that was intentional. But it just felt a little bit too over dramatic for my taste. How about you? What did you think of it?
Oh, I loved it.
Okay.
It's very messy. It's very messy,
Yeah.
you know, in the ways that Sauron was messy in this episode.
Okay. All right.
So,
I get that.
yeah. So, and I really like the choice of Fiona Apple. She's not someone that I would combine with fantasy much.
Yeah. Well, she's very talented. So, you know, she can make anything that Bear writes poorly sound at least halfway decent. But that's more of my criticism is just kind of the repetition of certain phrases and the holding out of certain notes. It was more about not the performance, but whatever was however she was told to perform it. That's the kind of the problem that I had with it more than anything else. Are you ready to get into the recap?
Yes.
Okay.
As always.
So we'll start at Numenor because it's the shortest one. But we have the king dying basically, and the chancellor is hovering over him like a vulture, and he proposes to some apprentices that they are going to get a chance, just like other great artists all across the country, all across the island, are going to get chances to design. I don't know if it was a statue or a sarcophagus.
A mausoleum, no? Yeah, mausoleum, I think.
Yeah. So naturally, Aron is one of these candidates because her boyfriend is somebody who likes burning boats and can probably bend his father's ear. Hey, get my girl in there. And she's probably just really talented on that as well. As she gets her time with the king to make a sketch so that she can do a design, they all only get an hour. He actually wakes up and grabs her arm very, very suddenly. Kind of scary. I jumped out of my seat just slightly. And I guess he's thinking that Aron is Muriel, his daughter, the Queen Regent. And he keeps telling her that they must restore their old ways on the island or the island will fail. Then he just gives away all the state secrets. He opens up the secret vault. He lets her go up the stairs, tells her, go take a look around. Somehow she knows exactly to go straight to the Palantir. Even though we don't see what she sees, we can suspect because we've already seen it, what she sees. And that's all that we get of that.
Dun, dun, dun.
as the ships are approaching Numenor, Elendil and Muriel, they have a talk about down in the cabin. She's trying to learn her steps. He's trying to help her a little bit. Then it evolves into a talk about cost and loss. But surprisingly, because this is where Elendil really surprised me as compared to last episode. He says that because of their loss is why they have to continue to fight. Now, I'm trying to juxtapose that with the scene we saw last week where he was weeping. And I guess maybe he was deciding right then that that was what, the only thing that would make the loss of his son, who we never heard anything else about this episode either, which kind of surprised me. But anyway, now it kind of makes more sense to me because that scene on the hill made zero sense to me, but now it has a little bit of context that we see Elendil is going to pledge to fight no matter what. And then when they go on deck as they're arriving at Numenor, you hear this dramatic music, and Muriel keeps asking Elendil what he sees, which he had been helping her all the way across the deck, and then he goes forward, and all of a sudden now she can find him. Seemed a little weird, but I guess she just kept walking forward, but she didn't bump into him. And she asks him what he sees, and we see the scene panorama. And obviously, the king has died. Black sails are now on all of the ships. There's all kinds of mourning going on, as you can tell. So that's the entirety of the Numenor storyline for this particular episode. What thoughts do you have, if any?
I think it's one of the things that they are doing well. There are things that they are not doing that well, but others they are. Is to keep you guessing about about some characters. So last time we saw Arian. I thought she was ready to take the plunge into the evil family. This time around, I saw her more, I think, sympathetic. Though I have to say the whole thing about Pharazôn, taking this apprentice to the room where the king is dying, and tell them, okay, you have 1 hour to observe this dying king so you can win a competition. That sounded like a little bit, whoa, rude to but it's not like the king has any say in that, no? So I cannot comment on that. But in that scene, we also saw the first real mention to what made the Numenorians turn away from the elves, the fear of mortality. Because the way Pharazôn describes, not even a king can escape this. And the way he delivers is very you can see that it's a problem. And we were waiting the whole season for this to get explored, because it was clear that the whole elves can steal our jobs. It was more it was not something he personally believed, that he was just saying that to the plebs. No, it's just something to manipulate the other people. But this is the real question. This is the real Achilles heel of the Numenorians, is that they are mortal men. And I was glad to see that they are going to develop that, that they didn't end the season without at least addressing it. So it was good. And Palantir, he's out of his mind. I don't know why he woke up, and I have no idea why he thought the intern, the apprentice, would be his daughter, or why he would open for the access for her to go to the Palantir to see. But we can only imagine that she sees the destruction of Numenor, which is what you can see in that Palantir, but we don't know. And I don't understand why they kept that in suspense for another 2 years. I would just have cut to when Palantir says, no, you should go inside, and that's it. but like they make us see her go inside and looking at the Palantir, and then they don't deliver what she saw. So either stop at his command or show us what she saw there, because this is a character, I wouldn't say underdeveloped, but she's still like, I keep guessing about her motivations and about her feelings all the time. So this was a big interrogation mark in the end. So a big question mark in the end, which I didn't like necessarily.
Yeah, it's one of the things that they didn't really finish off. But
yeah,
at the same time, I'll just say this. This is what I was led to believe by what I saw on the show. You know how, there's something very similar here to this last week's episode of House of the Dragon, which I won't spoil here, but I'll just say that there are a lot of similarities in terms of who thinks who's talking to who, and a last wind that a person, you hear about this all the time, a last wind that a person gets before they pass away, a last good day or something. And we just happened, Arian just happened upon Palantir's good day. But I'm betting he wasn't there. I don't even know if he made it till the time she got back down the steps. I mean, because those are the kinds of things that happen, and he would have just exhausted himself and go out.
Yeah.
And I am taking it on faith from what we've seen, from the fact that Muriel said, I saw this, and Galadriel then sees it, and they're just different people, that Arian saw the exact same thing. And so to kind of shorthand it, to save time in the episode for other things that needed addressed, they just kind of shorthanded it.
Yeah. I also have to say that I'm getting some romantic feelings between Elendil and Miriel. Like they seem to have gotten very attached to each other by the tragedies they face, and I'm here for it. I like it, and I think like he is supposed to become even more important in her life in the second season, and hers in his. So I'm here for it. Yes, I like it.
Yeah, I'm for that too. And I felt the exact same thing you did, especially in those last couple of moments where they were both pledging about, it seemed like they had bonded to a point that was beyond a queen and her soldier. It was much more of human exchange. And it did feel beyond just mutual respect, but it went to a step of caring for each other. Not an expression of romantic love yet, but you kind of got that. You kind of get those vibes that it was coming that way.
Yeah, it's something like it can turn romantic eventually.
Yeah.
So far, they are like more than friends.
Yes. Yeah. They are definitely more than their professional relationships. And it seems to be the bonding of at least a very strong friendship. Maybe that even counts to the reluctance of him being able to tell her what he was seeing on the deck right up front, because he didn't want to upset her any further.
Yeah.
Of course, it also makes for a nice dramatic shot as we turn around and see what's going on too. So it all works out really good. It all works out. Anything else on Numenor there?
No.
All right. Well, then let's move on to StrangeRON and the Harfoots. StrangeRON, the Sauron. The opening scene, the stranger gets assigned a name by the trio of baddies, and we come by saying, "We come to serve you, Lord Sauron." Dun, dun, dun. Matt's raising his hands. He's jumping up and down. See, I was right. And then one of the trio, I think they called the Aesthetic.
Aesthetic, yeah.
Yeah, they were listed that way in the credits. And tells StrangeRON not to be afraid. They have this constellation that he's been carrying around on a piece of paper on a relic, and they want to take him east to Rune. So it all starts to seem to be checking out, and Matt's jumping up and down even more. See, told you so. Told you, Priscilla. Told you so. And then Sadak and the other Harfoots are watching, And Goldie lures the two guardians, StrangeRONs, or the two guardians of StrangeRON away with the little pipe sound, while Nori and Sadak try to untie him. Turns out it was all a ploy because we saw one of them morphing as Nori before, and that same one is now morphing as the stranger himself. And in the process, Sadak gets thrown, a knife gets thrown at him and conveniently lands right where it will do permanent damage to him. And then you find out as I start to slink down in my couch and my head starts to drop that maybe the stranger isn't evil because he battles the evils while the Harfoots try to get away. There's all kinds of peril in here. Peril for Poppy, that's a double P. She gets caught by a blade just above her shoulder. I can't tell if it just did her clothes or if it actually got in her shoulder, but she seems to be okay. Sadak still ain't dead yet, though, and so he helps to save Poppy in that manner. The evils have once again secured the stranger again, but then Poppy and Goldie start throwing rocks. You never want to, make evil people mad, especially when they control fire, because now Smokey the Bear is really upset that the evils are not obeying the rules of good forest fire prevention. So just start spraying everything. Trees are on fire and everything. But now the stranger is able to get a hold of that staff that the one, I don't know if it was a leader or at least the main magic wielder, had been wielding the whole time. Nori gets it to him, and she tells him, "You're good now." And that's when Matt just goes, "Oh crap, Priscilla's going to give me so much trouble." And then he banishes them back to the shadow from which they came, which again sounds very Gandalf to me when he was speaking to the Balrog in, I guess that was Fellowship of the Ring, Peter Jackson's version of the story. And so they go. They kind of disintegrate. For some reason, there's a moth in there. Didn't quite understand that. Is that what they were created from? Not sure. But Sauron has been declared, or they declare as they're disintegrating away, or right before they disintegrate away, that he's not Sauron, but he is the Istar. And that's not good for them. After it's all over, Sadak says, "Okay, did my duty. And I've only got a 1-season contract with this show, so it's time for me to die." And Sadak gets to have a really nice sunset surrounded by friends as he says goodbye. Very sad. But they travel back to the clan, and the stranger, who now, again, as I mentioned, seems to be able to talk better than anybody else in that whole camp. He's really mastered the language. If nothing else, he's a wizard for that. But he tells Nori he's got to leave for Rune. That's where he'll only find the answers. She tells him, well, if they lied about who you are, or they didn't know who you were, maybe they don't know anything. He says, no, there's too much evidence. I know things now. I'm a wizard. You must listen to what I have to say in terms of being truthful or not. He doesn't really say that, but that's kind of the impression that I got, because now I don't like this guy anymore because he's not Sauron. Anyway, he also invites her on an adventure to go with her, which I loved. I quoted that phrase earlier. That's the way he first initially invites her. And then she smartly and quite efficiently just says, "You used all those words to describe an adventure." Yeah, because, he's just showing off that he knows words now. That's what I thought. Anyway, she says, well, she didn't know if she can go. And then when she goes down to her group, her dad and her stepmom and her sister have a bag ready for her to go. They know that she's going to go. They know that she should go. And she finally decides that she will go. And then she has to say goodbye to Poppy. The first time it doesn't go so well. Poppy can't handle it emotionally and has to leave. I felt terrible for Poppy, because then when Nori's about to really leave, then Poppy comes back and they say a proper goodbye, and I just felt horrible for poor Poppy. It's like everybody who matters in her life, she loses. That was such a heart-wrenching thing for me. And I love the parallels of Nori to Frodo, Poppy to Samwell. It's just it was a beautiful thing. But Nori says she'll promises that she'll come back, but Poppy's got to make sure that there's something to come back to. And then off the Harfoot and the wizard go, following their nose, because wizards know these things. Just follow your nose. That's where the sweet smell is. That's where we're headed. There is the hobbits, the Harfoots and StrangeRON, the artist formerly known as StrangeRON, now known as the Wizard. What are your thoughts here? Besides rubbing it in.
I have to give to you, Matt, that the Harfoots were one of the best parts of the season. You said they would be. And I was a little bit skeptical because they looked very strange and very out of place. But it's true. They were very at times it was surprising their storylines, especially when they revealed that they leaving people behind is something that they do, that the decaravaning is something that they do. But you come to care about these people. Personally, I think the whole thing about the stranger, they stretch it too much. We could have done with less of it. But this episode with the mystics and finally then revealing what they were looking for him on wrong suspicions that he would be Sauron. It was very funny. It was the funniest part of the episode for me, because we have a second time somebody confusing someone to be Sauron, thinking, okay, you are Sauron, trying to be one with Sauron, and then realizing, oh, I had the wrong guy. And that's exactly what happened here. They were victims of their own hopes, the mystics. And they paid the price for hoping for Sauron. So Sauron, as we learned in the series, is never where you want him to be. And he was not there. And we already spoke a little bit about who we think is the stranger. It's possibly Gandalf. It's possibly maybe a combination of Gandalf and the Blue Wizards. We don't know yet. But what we know is that they are hinting very hard that it's Gandalf, because they end with him saying that when you don't know, you should follow your nose, which is something that Gandalf said in the trilogy. No?
Okay.
So maybe that's what the modus operandi will be. They don't say out loud, but they keep hinting, and then you draw your own conclusions. I like that Poppy and Naughty, they got an emotional send-off. They are best friends. They have been best friends forever, and Poppy is alone in the world. But once again, I think they stretch it too much. The whole goodbye scene. But this is minimal criticism. It didn't take away my enjoyment. It was just I felt that a couple of 5 minutes away from that storyline, you could have perhaps ended with a little bit more certainty about Isildur being alive, or perhaps
or even just seeing Adar.
Yeah, or even seeing Adar, or just one scene with the dwarves with Durin the Fur dying. You could have done 3 minutes of Durin the Fur dying and 2 minutes with Isildur, and a scene of Isildur and Adar, just around. But anyway, I'm not a showrunner. It's just a criticism that it's just my opinion.
I think that those are valid opinions to have. I think that this is a much more important thing to have a valid opinion about. How did Malva become the leader of the Harfoots? I mean, by default, I know that Sadek said she's always right. Well, we've seen that proven wrong time and time again. It just shows, I guess, that Sadek is wrong often too. But when you can't even turn a map around the right side up, what's going on there? We need Poppy as the leader of that troop. Is that what you think they were implying there? That at least she needs to be their trail finder. It would seem because even Malva admits that. And Poppy's got this kind of smirk on her face, like, yeah, I'd do that.
Yeah, I think they have a leader in the trail finder. They are going to share these roles going forward, which is a good compromise. Malva is already old, Poppy is not. So maybe a training for Poppy being the replacement.
Yeah, Poppy gets the leadership internship. She gets to practice all of the songs, the silly songs and dances that they do, saying "Nobody left behind." Don't go off trail, or we'll leave you behind.
Nobody left. No, nobody goes alone. No,
nobody goes alone. Nobody goes off trail. Here's a silly costume to put on so that you can do that. Overall, I think the Harfoot season was great. I had hoped that they would be kind of the emotional heartbeat of the story. And there's been plenty of great moments with other characters too. Don't get me wrong or anything, but you can always go back to this for a little bit of humor, for a little bit of heartwarming. And I thought that they were used well throughout the course of the season. I feel like that I needed that double goodbye from Poppy, actually, because it showed her two sides. It showed the fact that she feared this so much that she couldn't face it. And then finally, the emotion of it being her best friend, she had to face it and say goodbye. So I thought that's, and the whole thing about at the end with Poppy, I feel like they really developed Poppy's character a lot. The question that I have is to what purpose? Because we're going to need to follow Nori and formerly known as StrangeRON. So if we need to follow them, do we need to follow the rest of the Harfoot clan, or was this an ending for them?
Oh, yeah, that's like a good question. That's a good question. Maybe like they skip a season.
Yeah.
It could be like that. Maybe they focus the next season on Naughty and the Stranger, and then they skip to when Naughty is returning to them, because Naughty promised that she would return. So
she did promise that she would return.
Yeah,
yes, she did. I still don't know if I trust Harfoots enough to keep their word.
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough.
What's worse?
Well, that seems like a good breaking point. Why don't we get into our first round of what's worse questions? Ladies and gentlemen, this is kind of like high school debate team, where we get together and we formulate kind of silly questions that have to be argued one side or the other. I am going to start. What's worse, Priscilla? Dying for a kid's crazy quest to save a stranger, or dying because you got the identity of a god wrong?
I think it's worse dying because you got the identity of a god wrong. I mean, this is so it's the stakes are so high here. No, you are betting your life and possibly the life of your friends and families on this quest to find this god, so you can put your support like in this god's like mission. It's to make Middle Earth a better place, but a better place for bad people, obviously. And you do everything right. You see the meteor, you follow the meteor, you have your staff with you, you have the proof that the evil, the Dark Lord has to come with you, because you show the constellation, you have everything figured out. And when you finally met the guy you thought it would be the Dark Lord that you could follow, it turns out this guy is actually a good guy. And this, like, even if they haven't been killed for this mistake, their evil hearts will be broken by this mistake. So I think it's worse. Yeah.
Well, I will admit that their death seemed a lot more painful than Sadok's. I will say that. But I will have to argue the other side and tell you that, I mean, here's a guy, all his life, all his entire life, what has he said? Never go off trail, never go alone. He wasn't alone, so he's followed that advice, but you never go off trail. And what does he do? He goes off trail and he learns just how valuable his advice was. You never do that. And all because this stupid kid who's not too nice to strangers, somebody who could be some kind of criminal for all we know. In fact, we do know for the first half of the episode that he is Sauron. And so we know that this crazy kid has believed in the wrong person from the exact opposite side of the fact that the ancients believed in the wrong person. So it's all about a mistaken identity until it's revealed later. But you did all of that. You're even trying to save this guy that this crazy kid, this Nori, wants you to save. And you end up getting a knife thrown right at the exact spot that's just going to make you just die, but not right away. No, not right away. You have to be able to save a few more of those freaks who tried to save this stranger. You have to be you're the one who has to do the duty of actually saving their lives so that they might get back on trail, even though they're off trail too. They should die just like you do. But no, you're the one who has to die. And all they can do is just give you a sunrise. I mean, come on. I can get a sunrise any day of the week. This is what I get. This is what I get for all of my heroics. For breaking my rules, I get a sunrise. Wow. You know, I can't even, I'm at the point, nobody's looking at me. Nobody's holding my hand. Nobody's taking care of me, thinking of me. The sunrise suddenly becomes more important than I am. And I'm the one who's dying. This is why dying, saving a crazy kid's silly mistake of an ambition is worse. That's what I.
Wow, you're so mean.
I am terribly mean.
Oh, yeah. I will ask you now. What's worse? Can I go ahead?
I think I'm over my rant. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like. So what's worse, Matt? Confusing an intern with your daughter, or handing the access to all your kingdom secrets to an intern?
Well, regardless of whether it's an intern or not, handing over the state secrets is definitely worse. You just don't do that. You just don't do that. Your treason. It's like self-hate. We need to be healthier, people. We need to respect ourselves more. He's like, this is information that he's kept bottled up for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. And the only person who even knew about it was his daughter, probably just because she, as a kid stumbled up there and started asking daddy things like, "What's that, daddy? What's that?" And then finally, when she got of age,
confused his daughter with somebody.
But anyway, he tells her, he's like, okay, I'm a little confused here. I don't have much oxygen left coming through my system. I can't exactly see who you are, but I assume that everybody else hates me. So my daughter would be the only person visiting me. Why you're drawing me, I don't have any idea. I don't care. Put that down. It's time for me to tell you all the secrets of the state. Oh, wait a minute. Who are you? Oh, well, here's the secret stairway. Anyway, and who cares whether this would be something that the one person who might go and tell Pharazôn what she saw, and he's going to be like, he's the enemy here. He's the one that's hovering over me like a vulture. And I'm just going to go ahead and possibly give those state secrets to him too, because she's going to go tell her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's going to go tell his dad. And that's it. It's over. It's over. That information is going to get shut down, and the island's going to be part of the Great Wave. Look what you did, King. Look what you did, King Palantir. Look what you did. So that's my argument. What's your argument?
Oh, I have to argue, right?
You do have to argue the other one.
Yeah, I was so mesmerized by your great argument, Matt. But I need to argue the opposite. So I mean, from a personal standpoint, you should not confuse your daughter with anybody. Your daughter, your only daughter, the one person in the world you care about most. Like this baby you saw growing up and now becoming Queen Regent. But yeah, you confuse her with a terrible intern that was brought to your quarters by your terrible nephew, who is just staying there, like drawing you while you lay dying. So the whole situation is very bizarre. And you should not be confusing this intern that's actually like someone you've never seen before with the daughter you raised and loved for decades. Even if you are dying and if you are senile and if you are crazy in your head, possibly due to drugs, we don't know what they are doing to this man. No, Palantir. But like you mentioned that, like people that are dying, they usually have a good day. If this is his good day, I don't know what a bad day is, Matt.
It's an excellent point. Yeah, you got me giggling. Now I'm going to start coughing. So, folks, because she made 6 excellent points, we need to put this on the poll. There's no way for us to resolve this. We're obviously on opposite sides for both questions. So we will put it on the poll at Bust Blockbuster on Twitter, at Bust Blockbuster on Twitter. Look for those polls on the Twitter profile. And sometimes because I do retweeting and all that stuff, you may have to scroll through a little ways down on the profile, but follow us. Then you'll see those polls as soon as they come up, as this podcast comes out. And then you can vote on them right away. Share those polls with your friends too. Do those retweet things and all of that. That helps us get more noticeable so that we can get more listeners, so that Bubba won't threaten to fire us because we haven't gotten enough new subscribers for his channel.
Oh, sorry. We should apologize to Bubba for not being as famous as he is.
I mean, nobody's as famous as Bubba, at least not in his own mind.
I don't understand why he demands us to be as famous as he is. He's like a star. Yeah. We are just starting. Yeah. He needs to give us time.
Well, much like King Palantiri, I'll be here to divulge state secrets of the Double P Media Network all of the time. Are you ready for the second half of our recap, Priscilla?
Yes. Let's go.
All right.
Let's go where the meat is.
So we're going to Eregion. Okay. Eregion. I'll never be able to say that. I'll never be able to say this name either, but Celebrimbor thinks that there may be a way to use limited mithril for greater power. But their conversation is interrupted when Galadriel, who's actually been doing the whole Arwen thing with Frodo on horseback for 6 days and 6 nights, and that's her being Arwen and Hal-RON being Frodo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but as they try to heal Halbrand, she brings it in. She interrupts the whole conversation between Celebrimbor and El-rin. Rude Galadriel, just riding in on a horse, 2 horses, in the middle of an important conversation. But nonetheless, they try to heal Halbrand. And El-rin has questions for Galadriel, questions that we needed somebody to ask Galadriel, like, how are you even here? Weren't you on a boat to go away? And Galadriel answers them, and they're still friends. But I wish they would get rid of all of this metaphor stuff that they're talking about. It's like a metaphor mode, a double M, that they just keep having these talks. There was maybe she was talking to Theo in that way so much last week that she's just forgotten. Halbrand hasn't been awake evidently for a while in order to have much of a conversation during the journey. So maybe she just hasn't quite been able to shut off her metaphoric mode, again, a double M, quite yet. So, swimming and drowning, lots of swimming and drowning in this particular episode, particularly as we'll see later on in this recap. But Halbrand somehow does manage to recover. Maybe a little bit too quick glee, and he introduces himself to Celebrimbor. And Halbrand gets to get a tour of Celebrimbor's stuff, and he likes pointing at jewels and picking up rocks and picking up mithril, and makes Celebrimbor a little bit uncomfortable. But then he suggests, Halbrand suggests finding an ore that might amplify the mithril rather than de-amplify it or make it weaker. And Celebrimbor goes, "Hey, that's a very good idea. I'm going to start calling him Celebrimbor, simply because he's aiding in Sauron's plan now." But anyway,
Matt, you revealed the biggest reveal already.
What? That it was a gift?
No, it's a Sauron.
You're absolutely right. But anyway, Elrond and Celebrimbor and Galadriel, they use this idea of Halbrand's, and they approach Gil Galad, who the double G, and they tell him that, we're thinking maybe we can make a crown out of this mithril thing, and placing it on him might save the elven race. I don't get any of that.
Doesn't want that.
It made no sense. Double G says it's too late. The leaves are starting to fall off the tree much too fast, and soon they'll all be falling just like the leaves. Celebrimbor starts to speak of this, this might use the power of the unseen world, and alarm bells start going off in Galadriel's head. She's seen this before in a fortress a long way away. Double G says, "Sorry, nope. Here's your evacuation notice. Break the camp down. Get on a boat. We're going home before we all die." Galadriel asks Celebrimbor where he got the idea, and when Celebrimbor points out Halbrand, she starts asking other questions, and Elrond uses Gil Galad's own words as Celebrimbor is about to give up and break camp. Elrond says, no, or he tells Gil Galad, I suppose, no. You've got to stick this out, buddy. You were the one who gave me the win-win for the Gipper speech about hope back in episode 2 or 1. I don't even remember which now, but so I'm going to use those words right back against you. Give us a chance, man. Give us a chance. And Gil Galad doesn't really commit to it, but I suppose he's allowing them to do it. He says they got 3 weeks, 3 months. I think it's 3 months. He says that they have. Galadriel is starting to really watch Halbrand suspiciously, and as Halbrand is suddenly becoming Celebrimbor's lead smithy. And Galadriel makes a secret library request. She goes to the librarian and says, "I know we're supposed to be quiet here, but I want you to be really quiet about this. If you be really quiet, then I'm sure that we will fulfill the role of a library. I want you to look up the king. I want you to look up the line of kings of the Southland." Now, Halbrand starts to interrupt it, or right after that guy goes off, Halbrand comes up and says, "Hey, Galadriel, thanks. You're making me see to believe in myself. Because you believed in me, I'm feeling much better." Even though Galadriel is now investigating him. Later, Celebrimbor is basically blowing everything up, including the forge itself, trying to bond mithril with any other ore. It just doesn't work, folks. Just doesn't work. Halbrand comes up with another good idea, making Galadriel even more suspicious. When her ordered package arrives, Amazon delivers the ancient book that she needed to see. It's a paper scroll, and she reads it, and of course, he's not from a line of kings that his sigil would indicate. And she tells him, "You're not a king. You're not from the line of kings." And he says he's been around a long time and has had many names. She realizes he's Sauron. She tries to kill him, and he stops her easily and then throws her into some kind of vision. I don't know if he's actually in her head. She claims that he is. But anyway, She suddenly thinks that, or her reality is that she is in Valinor, and that her brother Finrod is there. And naturally, just like he told her the first time around, you got to embrace the dark, baby. You got to embrace the dark. And this time around, she realizes that's no good. She walks away. That doesn't do any good. Hal-RON just shifts the scene instantly, and they're on the raft. He tries to tell her that he's changed. That he shows her how all of these things that he had told her about his past and whatever were true, but she just wanted to twist them into the way that she wanted to. And then he says, "You know what? We can make this better. Why don't you just become my queen, and everything will be all right. You can be the one who makes sure that I'm a good guy, even though I am a good guy. You can be the one who makes sure." She refuses, and he has a tirade, much like my tirades on Sadak. But she is now back to the spot where she was tied to the raft that ended up starting to sink when Halbrand first saved her. Except this time he doesn't, and Galadriel drowns this time, except she doesn't, because it's all in her head. That's when Elrond wakes her up. She cannot tell him why she was in the pond. She cannot tell him anything, but she does want to know who the heck he is, because she thinks he's still Sauron. He does a little bit of talking to prove who he is. And then she asks about Celebrimbor, and Elrond tells her that he's almost finished with the rings. Uh-oh, that's not good. So she goes running back to the forge in time to tell Celebrimbor that Hal-RON will not return when they ask where Halbrand is, and that they must make 3 rings, not 2, not 1. It sounds kind of like LeBron James talking about the championships at Miami. Not 1, not 2, but 3 rings. She has to give up her dagger for the extra alloys that Celebrimbor says that he'll need if he's going to make 3 rings. It's like, we need more ore. We need more precious ore. And nothing could be more precious than something that is from Valinor and something that is precious to Galadriel herself. So she makes her sacrifice in order to make these rings. And she's quite sad about it. She gives it a nice little vigil as she watches it burn up before the doors close. And the rings are created. But as they're created, Elrond is pacing nervously because he doesn't like the situation. Galadriel pulled a knife on him earlier. Why would she do that? So he goes down to the pond where he found Galadriel, and just so happens that the scroll is easily accessible, evidently easily readable, because it registers on Elrond's face what he's reading. Then we go back to the double S.
Double S?
Yeah, the Sauron scene of the crime. And he discovers that Halbrand, was not the king of the Southlands. Anyway, the rings are finished, and everybody gazes at them like people who are taking a tour of the British Museum. All the while that Hal-RON is saying hello to his new home, Mordor. Whew, lots of stuff to unpack here. Where do you want to start?
Yeah.
The place I want to start is, what did they coat those scrolls with that make them water resistant? That's what I want.
Well, I don't want to start there. I will, however, say that this part of the conclusion of the final both is very aligned with the Legendarium and not so. So the part that is very aligned to the Legendarium, surprisingly, is about Sauron's path after Morgoth is defeated. Like, he speaks a little bit about with Galadriel. He says that he felt as if a fist. I don't remember the exact expression, but he felt a sudden change in him after Morgoth was defeated. He even says that he, for a brief period, he felt the light of Eru Iluvita. So this is important, and because it refers to Sauron being repentant. This is like, according to what Tolkien wrote, Sauron, when they defeated Morgoth, he actually sought a pardon from the Valar. But he was told he would have to go to Valinor to be judged. And he didn't go to Valinor. He started having doubts, so he keeps hanging around Middle-earth for like centuries, licking his wounds and not knowing what he will do, more or less, until he surfaces in Mordor, until he starts using his fair form to enter the elvish realms and try to influence them, until he can, return to the command of the orcs and what's not. So what the series is doing, they place Adar more or less in the role of a Saruman-like. So it's not someone that is aligned with Sauron, but someone who has objectives there are more or less Sauron. Like somebody who is trying to become also a Dark Lord. So like Adar is trying to become his own Dark Lord, and he says that he killed Sauron, but you cannot kill Sauron. You can kill his physical form, but not his spirit. So when there is no big plan of Sauron without Galadriel. So this is like really the legendarium here. He is repentant, but not really. He doesn't know what he does. He's like centuries in Middle-earth. So what happened? He loses everything in Middle-earth to Adar. He loses the orcs. He loses, like, he cannot research anything anymore. He loses his body because Adar killed him. So he has this other form. So it's possible that he is on a boat there, trying to go to Valinor because he lost everything, trying to beg the Valar for his life. So it's possible. But the Valar has closed the paths to Valinor, to men and to those who are not invited. And Sauron is not invited. So this might very well be the cause of the shipwreck.
Yeah,
they were too close.
Okay.
They were too close to Valinor for any human beings to be. And when this happens, Ulmo, which is the Valar of the seas, he makes sure that nobody is going there. So when Galadriel decides to jump ship, what she's doing is like presenting Sauron with an alternative. And that's what he says to her. So they go to Numenor. He arrives in Numenor and he realizes, okay, I may not go to Valinor, but here it's like it's midway between Middle-earth, where I lost everything, and Valinor, where I cannot go. So I stay here. And he already had plans for Numenor. You can see, because he has the ear of Pharazôn. He's already got the guild, so he was like, he's trying to do his thing there in Numenor. Galadriel once again comes to him. Oh, you have to go to Middle-earth with me.
It's all Galadriel's fault.
No, it actually doesn't know. But like Sauron in his mind, he's trying to forge another path. Galadriel
but that's how Sauron can say it's all her fault.
Exactly. And then when he finally goes there, as he reminds her, like they fought together because they were fighting a common enemy, which is Adda, the guy who got his
wants his throne. Exactly.
Yeah. So then only when he sees what happens with the Mount Doom, which in the legendary, he is the one who causes, like, his presence causes constant eruptions there. he injures himself in a way that only elvish medicine can heal. So that is the moment where he starts being Sauron again. When he sees Doom erupting, when he sees that he can get away with Galadriel to influence the elves, and that's what he does. So that's where his plans start. His plan didn't start when they were lost in the sea. It's just in Middle Earth.
Okay.
And he is right. He never lied to her. He kept telling her that he didn't want to. But she's also right, because he was living under false pretenses. And he says, no, but you said whatever I did in my past, it's okay if I got a future. But obviously, he's not in love with Galadriel. It's all a power play. She provided, as Gil Galad imagined, that instead of fighting the evil, she would provide like a window for evil to come forward. That's what happens. And this is what, like, I think the second episode, this was clear that it was going to happen, that Galadriel was fighting too hard. She was completely right. Sauron had returned. But her methods were not really getting results. They were getting the opposite results. And Gil Galad had noticed that, El-rin had noticed that, everybody had noticed, but she noticed just too late when Mount Doom exploded. And there, like, the part where it doesn't go with the lore, the legendary, is how the rings are forged. The whole Mithril thing is completely out of question. But when are we going to see the lesser rings being forged? We don't know, because the lesser rings are forged before than the three. Like Celebrimbor forged the 3 rings, like unbeknownst to Sauron. After Sauron leaves that area, after he had that already done the influencing. So I'm curious to see how they're going to do it, because the showrunners are already saying that they are going to put the Anatar plot in the second season. So Halbrand is going to return there, but under another appearance.
Could it possibly be in that angel-like form that is also described in the books?
Yeah, we don't know. But it seems that they are there was an easier way to do things. Mm-hmm. They chose a not so easier way. So I'm very interested in seeing, because they are saying that they are going to be more faithful now to the legendary, now that they had this whole thing of establishing the world building, establishing the characters behind them. That, as you said, it's going to be a reset for the second season. So, but it's very confusing. It's very satisfying, because they managed to pull it off. I didn't like this story about Sauron being Halbrand. I would have preferred Halbrand to be Halbrand, However, the way they did it and the way they made the reveal happen, it was very satisfying. It was very good. And it made me enjoy the previous parts of this character arc, of Galadriel characters arc, of Halbrand, of their story. It made me enjoy more now in retrospect. But it has these problems in terms of the legendary, that how can they go on course now to go, because they have to at some point return to what happens in the books, because there is like an end point that they have to go for it, which is the battle, the War of the Last Alliance. So I don't know.
Interesting. Okay, so I have one question about this, because you talked an awful lot about the virtues of Sauron. Are you, in fact, an evil mystic? Is that what you are? The way you're defending Sauron so much at the beginning of your little rant, I suspect that you are an evil mystic.
No, I'm not.
Can I find a staff here to wave at you and see if you turn into a moth before you disintegrate away? It's not working, is it? Okay.
No.
So evidently you are not an evil mystic, but you sure had me convinced there for a second. Now, as far as the whole getting back in line with the Legendarium, That was kind of like a little bit of a reader rampage you had there, a double R.
Yes.
Also, you brought up one of the things that we had in our wheel of topics. So, what was your Gil Galad take here?
It's so weird because I go to forums sometimes to see what people are saying in the fandom, and obviously they're very divided. There are some that love the show, others that don't, or whatever. And I'm not talking about the haters. If you have like a irrational hate about the show, I'm not considering this kind of criticism. I'm talking about people that watch and criticize.
Yeah, just looking at strictly from a story element.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah. And one point, like they are very, I don't know, they're very strangely attached to their vision of Gil Galad. We don't know much about Gil Galad's personality. We don't know how he operated. We just know how he died in battle, basically, and that he was wise enough to recognize that Anata, the form of that Sauron, walked through the elven realms, no? That they should not trust Anata, that they should not trust. So he was wise, but we don't know much. So they were like, oh, they're doing Gil Galad's dirty, blah, blah, blah. And I don't see that. I mean, the guy obviously has no chill. He's always like a little bit grumpy, but he's a king with like big responsibilities, and he is like facing the possible extinction of his race. And he's even concerned about Middle Earth, because that's what his main concern is about, not leaving Middle Earth to Valinor, because then they would be leaving the peoples of Middle Earth open to the attacks of Sauron. So his concerns are legitimate. Like he has good intentions. Obviously, he's a little bit more into politicking. He's not really straightforward, but like he's trying his best. This is like I don't see how is this doing the character dirty. He's a king. That's what kings do. They are trying their best, but not necessarily with their hands clean. You know, so I am okay. I just think that it's because his portrayal is so out of like joy. He's such a sour person. Like in the times we see them, that the people have these feelings. But I also have to say, the most negative reactions are from men, from the masculine side of the fandom. I think the first season was pretty much I mean, they chose Galadriel as the connecting character, and I, as a woman, I understood her frustrations pretty well in how to deal with like people that don't believe you, the people that think you're crazy. So it's something that we recognize. How they are perceived, both Gil Galad and Galadriel. To me, they were both like good characters. They were trying their best, but sometimes you don't get everything right. And what's the problem with it? Oh, because Gil Galad is supposed to be wise. He's supposed to know who Anatar is exactly. And Galadriel, how she cannot know that Halbrand is Sauron. Well, the story is explaining to you. They are so desperate about the state of their of Middle Earth that they are like trying to like convince themselves all the time that they are doing the right things and that like it's going to work. This is like Iluvatar's will. So it happens to the best of us, you know. So I don't know. I'm not unhappy with their portrayal. I think they could have imbued them with a little bit more joy here and there, but that's just it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think the lesson that we can take away, at least from J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay's perspective, is elves have flaws too.
Should we give the Nampat Prize?
We've got some prizes for the season, I suppose.
Just one, I think. No.
Okay, the Nampat Prize.
Yeah, best death of the season. Do you have any death that you want to mention before we give our prize?
Okay. My runner-up will be Galadriel drowning.
Well, she didn't
This time in
die.
the vision. But it was a good simulated death in her vision. So I know it wasn't true. It didn't happen. That's why it's a runner-up and not my favorite.
Okay. I think we should give this prize to the trio of mystics. You know,
Yeah.
they looked menacing. They looked good. They looked awesome. They were powerful, but they were very confused. They were very confused people, you know. So they picked the wrong Dark Lord, and they were sent to the Never Never Land by this Dark Lord that was not dark at all. And it was a good scene. I really liked their fight. I think they deserve the Nampat Prize. I would have given to Sadok Burrows, but I mean he had a really good death. Like in each, he died happy. I think the Mystics, they died confused, which is even funnier for me. But it's kind of a consolation prize for them. No, they wanted to serve Lord Sauron, and they ended up becoming, I don't know, butterflies.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good choice. My full nomination goes to someone who also chose the wrong horse, and that is Theo's friend and Waldrick's friend, who went to serve Rowan, that went to serve Adar, thinking that it was Sauron. You know, thinking, yeah, this is gonna be great, and then he ends up becoming the sacrificial lamb. Which is proof.
But we didn't even see his death. He was off screen.
Yes, which is why Isildur is dead too, which is another outside looking in for me. Isildur is dead, ladies and gentlemen. Rowan is definitely dead, ladies and gentlemen. He had to be sacrificed, or otherwise Waldrick would not have gotten to turn the key last year.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, that's the best death. Just the look on his face when he realized that he had chosen the wrong horse right before he died, as Waldrick was coming at him, or Waldrick was looking at him. Yes, that's for me is the best. That's the Nampat Prize for me. We'll put it on a poll, folks. We have different ones. We'll let you vote for who had the best death.
What's worse?
Okay, I go first. What's worse? Having put your faith in a guy who wants to marry you but has been lying to you the entire time, or being a master artist who gets his knowledge shown up by a smith apprentice?
There is nothing worse than being someone who is reveled as one of the greatest artists in the world. I know this because I'm reveled as one of the greatest musicians in the world, of course. And then having some punk kid who just got out of music school at 22 years old just play circles around your ass on the piano. It's awful. And one of the things that I have to remind myself is that I can make him even better by teaching him something. Obviously, Celebrimbor did not even get that satisfaction because he was having to learn all of these things from Sauron in order to make these rings. Otherwise, it never would have worked. I don't even know why Sauron wants them there. I guess just so he thinks that his one ring eventually will have power over them too. But nonetheless, I would just say, well, yeah, let him die. Just get rid of all of them. I don't have them as a foe anymore. But so that made no sense to me. But here's Celebrimbor, and he's very open and receptive to these ideas because he didn't think of them. But naturally, he's just thinking that it's going to make him look better in the end because nobody will remember the fact that Sauron told him how or gave him a gift. No. Yeah. So I just happen to know that being shown up by the new kid on the block not only means your possibly your job, but also your reputation and your historical importance. Because I'm sure that everybody in the world will remember me as the greatest musician that ever lived.
Wow, you made all about yourself, right?
It doesn't Celebrimbor? Celebrimbor makes it all about himself.
Okay, I have to argue the other side. Okay, I think like putting the faith in the guy who wants to marry you but has been lying to you the entire time is worse, because as we all know, marriage, the foundation of a good marriage is honesty, is, confidence, it's truth. If the guy wants to marry you but like he's not being entirely honest with you about certain things, you can expect him not to be entirely honest with you with much, much more. So this is like opening the door for a life of disappointment. So therefore, it's worse. Just being shown off by a kid in a piano mat is just like a one-night thing. You forget about it. But, having a relationship...
Not when that kid goes on to become Jacob Collier.
Okay, yeah. But you're wrong. Anyway.
I think I might be wrong, but we will find out. I think that you're talking about marriage and all of that has no weight on me whatsoever because I've never been married.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, I've made it all about me, but we'll make it all about you on Twitter. We will make it all about you on Twitter at Bust Blockbuster. We'll put that up on the poll. One more question here, Priscilla. I'm going to ask you, what's worse, having your greatest enemy take the shape of your beloved brother to tempt you into an unholy alliance, or living with the knowledge that you helped your enemy achieve each and every one of his heart's desires?
I think it's a hard pill to swallow. You know that your enemy would be nowhere, would be no one without your assistance. No, knowing that you actually built up your enemy, that your enemy was all but defeated. Your enemy was nothing, but you had compassion in the wrong time for the wrong person, and you helped this person. So maybe without realizing you were helping, okay? But you built this person up just to be revealed as your enemy in the end. So this gotta hurt, like from both the point of view, like that you actually thought you were friends with this person, and also that when you realize that you were not friends with this person, that you actually you are the source of this person's fortune, good fortune. So this is bad, man. This is very bad.
I think that that's a very excellent point, but I totally disagree.
Of course.
I think that you're completely wrong, and here's why. Picture yourself and picture the person that you most admire, the person who's most important to your life, even more than your husband or your children or anything like that, because you think that they're dead when they're really not. Okay. So you picture this person, how much you look up to them, how much you admire them, how much they have guided you throughout your life and everything that you've done. And then you get a chance to see that person again, who you have not seen in a long time, hundreds of years, for whatever reason, either because you're immortal and they're gone, or because you just lost touch. You lost their phone number. You haven't texted in a long time, whatever. Suddenly that person comes back into your life and tells you that everything that you believed in, that you thought that they believed in, is wrong. It's just wrong. Where have they been? Where did they get this experience? And then you find out that it's not that person at all, but it's just me, the man behind the curtain, doing all of the talking for this guy. I mean, that's got to be worse, right? It takes everything that is your core being and it just rips it apart.
Wow.
No? Okay.
No.
We'll put it on the poll. We'll put it on the poll once again at Bust Blockbuster on Twitter.
Oi, can we get the feedback out of the monitors, please?
We've got lots of polls here. I don't remember who endorsed what.
Oh,
So
I think you won a lot.
did I win a lot? Well, I don't want to
Yeah.
know. I don't want to know that either. I don't know when. I don't want to know when I won. I don't know when I lost. But I just read the results as the impartial judge that I am. Losing
Well,
your country to a bunch of orcs and an evil old man, or being drafted as a child soldier by a very good-looking but already married elf lady. Waldrig wins. That's a double
oh,
W. Got 57.1% of the vote, and the hot elf conscription only got 42.9. Your stubborn old father, who won't help your friend's race, or the fact that he's actually right not to dig that in that place. Balrogs are basically bad people. The fact that father is actually right, it won 71.4% to 28.6%. Causing your community's destruction due to inviting a stranger to tag along with you and your merry band that never go off trail, or
never
traveling,
walks along.
or what's worse, traveling to find him with Malva and Sadak. Turns out Malva didn't go on the trip, but if we'd have thrown her in there, definitely, evidently, traveling with Sadak was enough, because 75% of the vote went with traveling with Sadak on that one. What else? Was that the only three that we had?
The shipper, the El-rin-isa as a shipper name for Durin, Aaron, and Disa. Yes or no?
Okay, so what happened there was we decided to call Durin, El-rin, and Disa a shipper name, all three combined, and we came up with El-rin-isa. And we asked if that was appropriate or not on Twitter, at Blockbuster on Twitter. It's almost like 4 out of 6 of you voted yes. Here's the way that I like to look at it, even though this poll did not get a lot of results. Twice as many people said that that was a good name as said that was a bad name. That's the way that I like to look at that. It doesn't matter what numbers you apply to it. This is the way that politicians get away with using statistics all the time. And so we will do no different here at this podcast. Twice as many people said that they liked El-rin-isa as those who said they did not. That clearly means that we shall continue to say El-rin-isa if we ever get another scene with them again. No matter how you look at it, we want to hear what you guys thought of the entire season. Please tweet to @BustBlockbuster on Twitter. You can send emails to mattsaudioblog@gmail.com. That's mattsaudioblog@gmail.com. You can leave comments on our website, mattsaudioblog.com, mattsaudioblog.com. You can also leave comments on the Double P Media YouTube. Please subscribe, hit those like buttons, make us look good for our boss Bubba, because he might fire me if you don't. Please.
Okay.
Please leave comments. Please do all of those things. Subscribe to the podcast for certain. They need more subscribers in order to, again, we need new furniture in Bubba's 3rd mansion that he has now built. He needs furniture. So hit those likes, watch those ads, do all of that stuff. But subscribe at youtube.com/C/the word double, the letter P, the word media. Use that same spelling for their website, Double P Media. Also, find them on Twitter so that you can tell them how I divulge state secrets, just like Palantir, regarding the whole business behind Bubba's massive enterprise that he has. You can tweet to @the word double, the letters PHQ. You can also use that spelling at their Facebook page, facebook.com/the word double, the letters PHQ. One of these days, I'm going to be able to say all of that without having to think about it. That wasn't the case today. Priscilla, regardless of what we're doing over here on the Double P, you've obviously are very rich on your own. You've probably got on your 4th or 5th mansion. You're looking to furnish it
it's
too.
True.
But in order to furnish it, you need people to come over to your channel and subscribe. We'll put the link up on the TV right now, or on the video right now. But in order for people to subscribe, what can they look forward to now that Lord of the Rings is over? What else are you going to cover this year in regards to the shows or the books or whatever you're going to cover for any kind of television?
I have no idea.
There it is in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, there is the spin-off, the Witcher spin-off, not coming with Michelle Yeoh, which I'm looking forward, but that's the only thing. I'm currently watching The Serpent Queen, which is a series at Stars. I really recommend it. People should not sleep on it. If you want your doses of court intrigue, The Serpent Queen is a great series for you. But I'm not currently doing anything in the channel other than Rings of Power. And now the Rings of Power is gone and is not going to return for 2 years. I don't know. Let's see if the Witcher series premieres, I think in December, the spin-off. But like, I don't know. Let's see.
Okay. Well, just be sure to get over there because when there's something good that's on TV, she'll be covering it probably. So, and she's always got great perspectives from outside source material knowledge and how it pertains to the show that we're watching as well. Priscilla, thank you so much for being on with me this season, for tolerating all of my craziness, my sickness, whatever has caused obstacles, our time difference, which makes you have to stay up late at night. All of that stuff has been very much appreciated, folks. I'd love it if you go and subscribe to our channel right now, if for no other reason alone, that in the waning hours of the night, she has to listen to me talk. That's reason enough to pay her very well.
Thank you for the invitation, and thank you, Baba, WP Media, and everybody for extending our fame to us, like mere mortals of the internet. I will never forget. But I had a great time. Sometimes I was like too crazy in my thoughts, but yeah, this happens, and I apologize if I spoke evil things, as you accused me against Baba. I don't think I did, but you accused me one time.
Yes, you better apologize for that.
I'm apologizing. Yeah, but anyway, I thank you guys. It was amazing. I always liked your podcasts, and it was a pleasure.
All right. Thanks again to Priscilla. And we will be back sometime in the near future. I mean, Priscilla will be back in 2 years if she even cares to cover Lord of the Rings season 2 with me. Until then, maybe you'll hear from her in other places. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't even know what I'm doing. I know that I've got to get through House of the Dragon. You can check out Before the Dragon podcast, where I'm doing those over there. Or you can check out this December. I know that I'll be doing back here on the Double P, covering His Dark Materials with Holly for their third and final season, which is the adaptation of the third book of that series. And other than that, we'll be back soon with a music podcast. Take care.
Part of Double P Media, doublepmedia.com.